سبحان الله والحمد وعدد خلقه ورضا نفسي وزينة عرشه ومداد كلماته. In this series we are going to talk about the history of the Yahud. I wrote a whole book about the history and I'm going to try to finish it within 30 minutes, so there's going to be a lot of information about the history of the Yahud. I will quiz you in the middle or the end, so just try to pay attention as much as you can. It's a lot of information all at once. We talked about almost all the prophets and we're almost done with the series of the prophets. Musa, you can bring your chair closer if you want. Now, one of the prophets that's mentioned in the Quran is Prophet Shu'aib alayhi salam, and historian says that Shu'aib came in the same time as Musa. And Musa alayhi salam, when he went to Midian, some says that was Shu'aib, some says no, that's not Shu'aib. So the Prophet Shu'aib, the community of Prophet Shu'aib, they would worship tree. So they were called tree worshippers. A lot of the prophet stories we talked about is idols or other things. This prophet, they are worshiping trees. And they would do also what the people of Lut do. They would cheat, they would steal, they would pride. And with Midian, where the city was, which is north of Egypt, they had a lot of travelers passing by. So there was a lot of trades going on. There's a lot of money going in and out. And they would basically cheat the scale. So back then, when you buy grocery, you would basically do it based on old scale. And they would cheat the scale to make more money. And Shaitan promises for humanity to disbelieve and even to worship one another. Whether you're worshiping a tree, whether you're worshiping a person, whether you're worshiping a son, that Shaitan promises to mislead humanity as much as possible. Shu'aib, who was a prophet among the community, Allah picks the best prophets out of the humanity, and he would tell his people about the reward, about the punishment. And his people, they were loaded, they were rich, and they would take money and they wouldn't pay money back, and they would take money from the weak, they wouldn't pay him back, they wouldn't pay the loans they take. And he told them, oh my people, I am clear evidence that I'm a prophet. And they told him, look, Shu'aib, we don't understand what you're saying, and we consider you among the weak. You're not among the powerful, you're not among the rich, we consider you among the weak. And if it wasn't of your family, because of your family lineage, we would have stoned you. So they made a promise not to kill him because of his family lineage. If it wasn't of his family, whether it was his dad or his grandpa, somebody was in there that was important in the family, that they would have killed him if it wasn't of his family. They told him, we will make you rich, you can continue to preach what you're preaching, but we are tree worshiper, we will not worship the one God. That's how our forefathers did it, we're not going to follow you. And he told them, look, I have less money than you, but the quality of my money is much purer than you. The money that you have is not pure. Mine is much more pure than yours. And they told him, business is one thing, religion is one thing. Don't mix that with each other. So the reason Allah tells us about these stories is because it matches our lifetime. You might see people nowadays with business, they will say, business is one thing, religion is one thing. Don't mix it together. So anytime we're talking about prophet stories, it is something that matches our life. And he told them, oh my people, you hate me so much, it should not lead you to punishment, to what happened to Nuh alayhi salam, Hud alayhi salam, Salih and Lut. They heard of these stories, they take him as fairy tale, and he's warning them over and over and over. And one verse in the Quran, he tells them, Astaghfiru rabbakum thumma tubu ilayh inna rabbi rahimun wadud. So the word wadud, it is the only verse in the Quran that talks about what it means is my Lord is full of love. My Lord is merciful and full of love. That's the one word in the Quran that we see that Shu'aib is telling his people, my Lord is full of love. And they told him, look, since we cannot stone you, we are going to banish you and banish the followers with you. So they banished him, he left the city. They banished, if you can put on mute, Hamza, please. They banished him, they banished his followers, and then they wanted to call them back. So they told him, okay, you can come back to our community, but you have to follow our terms and conditions. He told them, I will not come back to you. You want me to come back to your filth, and you want me to come back to your, you want me to come back to your filth, and you want me to come back to your cheating? I'm not going to come back to you. They told him, okay, if you're really, really truthful, and you say you're the prophet, we want a piece of the sky to fall on us. We want the punishment to come on us. And he made a dua, oh Allah, judge between us and our people. You are the best judge. So Allah sent a thick cloud and it covered the whole sun. He made the wind stop moving. Because the wind stopped moving, it got really hot and it got very humid. and then they heard an awful cry of wave, and they died inside their houses, just like the people of Thamud died inside of their houses. And the disbeliever used to say, if you follow Shu'aib, you will be losers, and if you look at them, look what happened. And he told them, oh my people, didn't I warn you? Didn't I keep telling you about this? So when Shu'aib went back to the community after the punishment hit them, he told them, how do you expect me when they're all dead? How do you expect me to feel pity for you when you disbelieve? I don't feel any pity. I don't feel any empathy. I don't feel any type of pity towards you. And just like Allah got rid of the people of Thamud, He got rid of the people of Shu'aib. The next prophet story, Ilyas. Ilyas is only mentioned a few times in the Quran. We don't have narration about him or stories, but we know he was sent to Bani Israel. In the Quran, he told his people, will you not fear Allah? Will you call upon the Baal? So they used to worship a god named Baal. Allah sent him the punishment. That was his story. He was honored in the Quran. The next one we hear in the Quran is called Dhul Kifl. Now, Dhul Kifl, who is Dhul Kifl? He was a prophet. Dhul Kifl is a title. So Dhul Kifl means the person that takes responsibility and fills up his oath. A person who makes an oath upon himself and fills it up. Just like Dal Noon. Who is Dal Noon? It's in the Quran. Who's Dal Noon? Yunus. Yes. So Yunus, he has the title of Dal Noon, the companion of the fish. Dhul Kifl has the title of what? To take responsibility and not break his oath. Now Dhul Kifl, we don't know his real name. It's not mentioned in the Quran, but Allah is honoring him in the Quran. We know he's sent to Bani Israel. His story is a little bit mystery. There is book of tafsir that talks about his story. They're not authentic, but there's no harm of mentioning them. So Dhul Kifl, who was a prophet, he took 3 tasks upon himself to not break. The first task is to pray 100 rak'ah a night. The second task is to judge people before the afternoon. So he was some type of judge that would judge people before the afternoon. And in the afternoon, he would sleep for an hour. And then in the evening, he would preach. He would preach Islam. And Iblis sent a few shaitan. He wants him to get angry, to break his oath. And the shayateen failed. So Iblis said, okay, I'm going to take it upon myself to come in a human form and make him to break his oath. So Iblis came to him as an old man, and he was knocking at his door before he slept. So he wanted to interrupt his hour of sleep. And he said, I'm an old man. My people oppressed me. And I want you to get my haqq back. I want you to get my right back. He said, okay, come in the evening. There will be a gathering of people. We will judge between you and them. Bring your people and come in the evening. He said, okay. So Dhul Kifl waited in the evening. He didn't come. The next day, the old man came in, started knocking on the door, telling him, how they oppress him, telling him, how old he is. And then Dhul Kifl told him, why didn't you show up yesterday? I was waiting for you. He said, my people found out that you're about to come and judge us, so they give me my right back. Then the next day, they took what's mine, my rights. He said, okay, bring them, end of the day, and we will judge between us and them. He didn't show up. So the third day, again, Dhul Kifl is a human being. He needs that few hours of sleep in the afternoon so he can continue on his day with preaching and praying at night. So he told his servant, if anybody come knocking on the door, do not let them in. If anybody come knocking on the door, do not let them in. So when Iblis came the third time on the third day, he came in as a human form. The person wouldn't let him in. So Iblis, since he's a shaitan, he's able to go through holes. He's seen a hole that's open. He went inside the house. Then Dhul Kifl asked him, how did you enter? Dhul Kifl called his servant. His servant said, I don't know how he went in. I was by the door the whole time. Dhul Kifl immediately know this is a shaitan. He asked him, are you the enemy of Allah? Dhul Kifl said, yes. He said, why did you do this? He said, because you took an oath or a vow that I wanted you to break it by getting angry. By making you really, really tired, eventually you will get angry. Because when a person is not getting enough sleep, he's very moody and he will break his oath. And Allah honors Dhul Kifl. Again, these are book of tafsir. They're not authentic, but there's no harm of mentioning them. Now we are going to start with the history of Bani Israel. Yaqub came in 1800 BC. So BC is before Isa time. AD is after Isa time. So 2000 years is BC, before 2000 years. Right now we're in 2023. We are in 2023 AD, which is after 2000 years. Anybody have question about BC and AD before I start? Everybody's on the same page?
Can you say that again?
BC is before Isa time. AD is after Isa time. So BC is 2000 before. AD is 2000 after. Right now we're in 2023. What year are we in? 2023 AD. Make sense? So, yeah. So Yaqub, he was in 1800 BC. So how many years ago that was? About 3,800 years. Now this is based on historian. Dawood is 1043. Musa is 1436. Sulaiman is 1010. So that's, when I say 1436, you gotta add 2,000 years on top of that. That makes it 3,436. Everybody on the same page? So Israel had 12 tribes. Okay, the 12 tribes, 2 of them is called Judah and Benjamin. They're the only one that survived. 10 tribes were gone. When were they gone? When the Assyrian conquered Israel in 722 BC. Who is Judah? So Judah was the son of Jacob. So David, he was a tribe of Judah. Sulaiman, after Sulaiman's death, Judah was the only remaining loyal to the memory of David. And it was prophesied that Isa would come from the tribe of Judah. So 2 tribes only survived. Now the word Hebrew of Jewish comes from Judah. So Yahud means the praised or thankful one. That's what Jewish means. That's what Yahud means. Now the word J does not exist in the Hebrew language. The word J does not exist in the Hebrew language. It's the word Y. So the word J, there's no such thing as the word J in the Hebrew language. Okay. The word J does not exist in the Hebrew language. In 20th century, that's when Hebrew took the word J. So Yaqub, his name, they call him Jacob, but his real name is Yaqub. It's not Jacob, because in Hebrew, J does not exist. Jonas, which is Eunice, his name is Eunice. Why? But in modern English, they call him Jonas. Jesus, his real name is Yahshua, which is Ishwa. That's what, in Hebrew name, his name is Ishwa, but they took the Y out and replaced it with the J. So the word J came in the 20th century. Before that, the word J did not exist. That's why when they say Jewish, they call it Yahud. Is Y, not J-Y. So let's talk about the first temple. Now, Sulaiman alayhi salam built the first temple, known to be the biggest temple ever. Now, this was the biggest temple ever because the jinns helped build it, and it was one of the biggest temples that ever built on earth, one of the biggest skyscraper that was built on earth. It was built in 990 BC. Okay, 990 BC, and it was destroyed in 586 BC. That's when the first temple got destroyed. Now, in 748 BC, Israel was divided into 8 different parts with 8 different kings, and they were worshiping different gods. That's what happened in 748 BC. In 722 BC, the capital Samaria fell to the Assyrian Empire, and everybody in Israel fled to the kingdom of Judah. Where is Judah? Jerusalem. Judah, Jerusalem. Everybody on the same page? Now, Egypt and Babylon, they would compete. So Babylon is now the superpower of the world. And Babylon won over Egypt, and they took over Jerusalem. And in 586, Judah, they resisted and they fought. And Babylon destroyed the wall of Jerusalem. They enslaved all the Jewish, and they took them to Babylon. There was no more Jewish left in Judah. They took all of them. The only Jewish were living in Judah, which is Jerusalem. They all got sent to Babylon, and they were enslaved in Babylon. In 539 BC, Persians became the superpower, and they destroyed the Babylon, and they granted the Jewish to go back to Jerusalem, rebuild their temple, and restore the Torah, and he let them allow to go back. Before that, there was no more Jewish left in the land of Israel, or the land of Palestine, or the land of Judah. Now, the second temple was built in 569 BC. This is the second temple. You can pass this around. So, this was the second temple that was built. The first temple, like I said, nobody knows how big it was. We know that it was as big as a skyscraper, but nobody knows how big it was. Now, this temple, based on archaeologists, they took samples of the rock, which is the western wall, and they were able to dimension how big the temple was of the second temple. So this is where the western wall right here, which is the east, and was the temple. You can pass it around. Now in 330, so the second temple was built in 500. Yes.
Wasn't the first temple, Suleiman's temple, wasn't that built by jinns?
Yes, jinns helped build. If you catch up on the last video we did, they helped build they built the first one. That's why it was one of the biggest. But it got destroyed by the Assyrian. Why? Because Assyrian took over Israel. Okay, but the people in Judah, they resisted. So Israel, they surrendered except for Judah, and the Assyrian wanted, or the Babylon wanted to make an example. They destroyed the wall and they enslaved the whole population back to Babylon. Now, the second temple was built in 516 BC. In 334 BC, Alexander the Great, a very ambitious young man at the age of 20, he set out to rule the whole Middle East. He even ruled out Persia. He even made cities inside Persia his name. And he was so exhausted by his conquer that he died at the age of 32. When he died at the age of 32, his land got split into two. So it got split in half by two generals. And in 209 BC, the Jewish community, they migrated to Alexandria to translate the Torah in Greek. In 200 BC, Jerusalem got conquered by the Greeks. And what happens when they got conquered by the Greeks? The Greeks were worshipping a god named Zeus. And since they were worshipping a guy named Zeus, they brought this worship inside the temple. And the temple and the Torah got destroyed. And the only Jewish there was living in Alexandria. In 164 BC, the Jewish went back to Jerusalem. They won the city of Judah. They restored the Torah, and they became an independent. In 63 BC, Romans took over the land. Okay, Romans took over the land. In 20 BC, King Herod, who converted into Judaism, he built the western wall that we see right now. He built the western wall around the temple. In 27 AD, Isa alayhi salam began to preach. In 66 AD, not BC, AD, the Jewish went to the war with the Romans, and they were completely annihilated by the Romans. They were scattered all over the place. There were barely any Jews left after that. After 66 AD, there was barely any Jews left in modern Jerusalem. Now, how many guys have you heard of the Western Wall, or you've been to Al-Aqsa, or you've seen the Western Wall? You've seen it, right?
Yeah.
So the Western Wall, you see Jewish wailing. Why are they wailing to the Western Wall? They are wailing because of the destruction of the Second Temple. And over there in the script, the reason that is very holy, the Western Wall, because in their book that Ibrahim alayhi salam sacrificed his son, Ishaq, in that. The Arab says Ismail, the Jewish says Ishaq. The Quran doesn't say who it is, but and also when they're over there, they're chuckling. Chuckling means they're going like up and down while they're praying. The reason they do that, one of the rabbi of Jewish said, because your soul is like a candle, you have to keep moving to keep it on. So this is how they pray in their laws. We know Isa, as a Jew, he grew up as a Jew. He was bowing his head down to Allah. So, over time, things change with Judaism, and they change the way they worship. But again, they're still praying in their own Sharia and their own law. Now, where is the third temple? Anybody knows that?
It's Masjid al-Aqsa.
There is no third temple. Okay? So, what are Yahud doing right now? They're digging. They're digging inside Jerusalem. Why are they digging inside Jerusalem? They're trying to find the box of, answer it, we talked about it last time. What box? The Tabut. So once they find the box of Tabut, they will prove to the world that this land is theirs. Right now, if they try to build the third temple, what happens? It's going to start a war. But for them to get the West on their side, they have to find the box of Tabut, so they can have the whole West on their side to prove this land is long. Then they can destroy the Aqsa and rebuild the third temple. Right now, there's no third temple, but they're trying to build the third temple. And that's why they're digging under the ox to find the box, yes.
Isn't Masjid al-Aqsa built on Suleiman's temple, is what they say?
So the region, it's holy, the region, okay? So on Masjid al-Aqsa, you have the Dome of the Rock and you have the Masjid al-Aqsa. The Masjid al-Aqsa was built also by Umar ibn Khattab, and the only traces there's left is the Western Wall, but they're trying for them to build the third temple, they have to find the box of Tabut, okay? So God in Jewish means Yahweh. That's what God. God in Spanish means Dios. God in Aramaic, which some say Jesus speak Aramaic, ilah, okay? God in Arabic, what's Arabic? Allah, right? So Allah tells us, O people of the book, your God and our God is the same. Do not go extreme with your religion. Now I want to question you guys. So in the Western Wall, when they are praying, they throw piece of paper, right? And they put their wishes in there. I wish this happened, I wish that happened. That's what they do. So they wail at the Western Wall, right? They move their head back and forth praying, okay? And they put piece of paper. So the question is, how are they committing shirk? Now, shirk means believing in Allah, but you are associating partners with Allah. Now, the Jewish, they're following the Sharia of not eating pork. They're praying in their holy place. How are they committing shirk? Yes.
They're equating the wall with giving them what they want.
Yes. So before Islam came, what were the people of Quraysh doing? They were believing in Allah while talking to idols to speak on their behalf to Allah, because Allah is too holy to speak to. So that's how you commit shirk, by putting that piece of paper. So they would actually write a piece of paper, they put inside the wall what their wish is. That's how you commit shirk. So they believe in Allah, but they are associating partners with Allah by writing these papers, and that's how you associate partners with Allah. Now, when Isa came and he was preaching, they declined Isa. They know Isa came, but they call him a false prophet and a false Messiah. What was the punishment? Because when a prophet comes and he gets declined, a punishment comes. What was the punishment of the Yahud after Isa left?
They lost their kingdom.
So they lost their kingdom to the Assyrian.
Quran says like Moratam.
We will talk about that in a little bit. So they lost their kingdom to the Assyrian. But what was the punishment of them declining Isa? Anybody know that? Each time a prophet comes, the community declines the prophet, a punishment comes. Everybody knows that. Now, what was the punishment of the Yahud after Isa left?
The land, maybe?
So the Romans annihilated all Jewish in 66 AD. There was the Jewish, they all left. There was barely any Jewish left in that land of Israel. Completely annihilation. When Isa left, the punishment came. Isa, again, this is based on historian. Isa was preaching in 2733 AD. They got annihilated in 66 AD. Very short period of time, maybe 20 years from the annihilation to where Isa was preaching. That was the punishment. Each nation will get their punishment if they decline the prophet that was sent to them. This was their punishment. The 12 tribes of Israel, like I said, 10 is lost. Nobody knows where they are. 2 only survived. In 1970, they tried to find the lost tribe of Israel. They tried to look all over the world. They found a group of Jewish in Ethiopia, group of Jewish. So in 1970, when they took over Palestine, the Jewish began to call all type of Jewish everywhere in the world. And they began to call them citizenship, come into the Holy Land. The Jewish wanted to rebuild their Holy Land, so they called to all type of Jewish. In 1970, when they found a group of Ethiopians, Jewish, they began to bring them back to their homeland. In 1980, DNA technology started, so they began to try to see, because they thought that the people in Ethiopia were the last 10 tribes. When they did the DNA, they found out that no, these are not from the last 10 tribes, and they actually made it harder on them to come now. So somebody who's in Ethiopia wants to go to Israel, it's harder for him to come. It's as long as 20 years delayed. And in Israel law right now, in law, if you're Jewish, you can go over there and get your citizenship. This is their law right now. But because they're not from their tribe, they made it harder for them to come right now. So there is 170,000 immigrants in Israel right now. And out of 170,000, there are 67,000 born in Israel. So if a person wants to convert to a Jew, you actually have to be born as a Jew. You cannot convert as a Jew. But don't get me wrong, it's not impossible to convert. You can convert to be a Jew, but you will never have the standard that they have. So if you're Jewish lineage, you're here. If you convert to a Jew, you're here. As much as you're a good worshiper, you will never be here. Why is that? The reason why Jewish, they don't really preach religion, because they take it that God picked them as high standard. When Allah told Musa alayhi salam, I have picked you amongst other nations, I picked you over the Mongols or the Chinese or the Romans, they took it as they are the best and this is their standard. This is how they took it as. You know, we have the true story in our book, but this is how they took it as. That's why it's hard to become a Jew. And even if you become a Jew, you could be worshiping day and night. You will never have the standard to a person who was born as a Jew, who was praying here and there. Make sense? And racism in Israel right now, if you're Ethiopian, because there's a lot of Ethiopian there, just like the African American faced the racism in the United States back in 1970 or 1960, they are facing the same racism over there in Israel.
Yeah, they have a lot of them.
Now, everybody pulls up the Quran app. If your phone is on FaceTime, you can share with the next person. Chapter 282, verse 4. We're going to go over it. If you have the Quran app, pull it. If you don't have, I'll just recite it. So, وَقَضَيْنَا إِلَى بَنِي إِسْرَائِيلَ فِي الْكِتَابِ. We have decreed to Bani Israel in the Kitab. What is the Kitab?
Which verse is it?
Verse 4. Chapter 282. What is the Kitab? لوح المحفوظ. That لِتَفْسُدَنَّ فِي الْأَرْضِ مَرَّتَيْنِ وَلَتَعْلُنَّ عِلْوًا كَبِيرًا. You shall cause corruption twice in the land. You shall corruption twice, and you're going to become great haughty. Means you're going to become great arrogant or ignorant. And what is the fasad? Killing, bloodshed, oppression, stealing land. And you will have two almighty izzah. You will have periods of two mighty izzah that they will honor or abuse. فإذا جاء وعد أولاهما بعثنا عليكم عبدا لنا. When of the first two promises come, we will send against you an army. They are from our creation. They are our people. And they will have a great military might. They are strong people. And they will even manage to go in your houses. And indeed, this is a promise that took place. فَجَاسُوا خِلَالَ الدَّارِ وَكَانَ وَعْدًا مَفْعُولًا. They entered your house, and this is a promise that took place. ثُمَّ رَدَدْنَا لَكُمْ الْكُرَّةً عَلَيْهِمْ أَبْدِلْكُمْ بِأَمْوَالٍ وَبَنِينَ وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ أَكْثِيرًا نَفَارًا. We give you another chance. So we have given you another chance. We have given you victory over your enemies. And we rose you up from humiliation. We rose you up. And we give you blessing, children, and powerful, and numbers, and money, and wealth. إِنْ أَحْسَنْتُمْ لنفسكم وإن سأتم فلها. If you do good, it's for yourself, and if you do evil, it will be used against you. فإذا جاء وعد الآخرة. So the akhirah doesn't mean the hereafter. The akhirah means the end of the two promise. So أولهما means the first. The akhirah means the second. So when the second punishment comes, because there shall be twice of Bani Israel power. There will never be another nation of Bani Israel, only twice. There's not going to be a third time of them having a country or a nation again. لِيَؤُوسُ وُجُوهَكُمْ. They will make your faces sour. When your face went from beaming with ignorant and bright, your face will go sour. So your face will be sour. وَلِيَدْخُلُوا الْمَسْجِدَ الْأَقْصَى كَمَا دَخَلُوهَا أَوَّلَ مَرَّةٍ. They shall enter the masjid. Which masjid? The Masjid al-Aqsa. So they will enter the masjid just like they have entered it previous time in history. وَلَيَتَبَرُّوا مَا عَلُوا تَدْبِيرًا. And they will destroy everything you have. So whatever you have built and have, they will destroy it. So tafsir of this surah, in 1930, over 40 scholars thought that this has been done. Even though the Quran tells us that the first promise already happened, the second promise hasn't came in yet. Now, in 1930, where was Jewish living at? They were scattered all over the world. Nobody ever thought in 1930 that they will have a mighty nation again. Nobody. In 1930, they were living in Morocco, Moscow, Germany. And then after 1945 with Hitler, the Arab welcomed the Yahud in their land. And 1947, that's when they had the war with the Arabs and the Jewish. And after the destruction of the first temple, so when is they had the mighty and the izzah, the first temple that we talked about, when the Assyrian destroyed their house, that's when they had the izzah and they had the power, and they were committing, just like they're right now oppressing, stealing lands and killing. They were doing the same thing in 1990 BC. They were doing the same exact thing, killing, oppressing, and Allah sent a mighty nation to them, a mighty army, and they destroyed them. They went inside their house, they enslaved their whole population, and they destroyed their whole kingdom. The second temple, they didn't have mighty and izzah. So the first temple, they had the mighty and izzah. The second temple didn't have the mighty and izzah. They were attacked by nearby countries, didn't have the money they have now, didn't have the power, didn't have the nation. Yes?
Is that why they're saying like the second time might be around this time?
So the first time it already happened. The second time, I'm still talking about the second time. So Allah tells us when the promises come from the two ends, they will conquer the masjid just like they did once in history, and your face will become sour. You will go from a superpower nation into nothing. So this group that Allah is talking about, they have conquered Masjid al-Aqsa in history. Who are these people? Umar ibn Khattab in 638 AD, he conquered Jerusalem, and he ended the 500 years oppression from Romans, and he went inside the Masjid al-Aqsa. So Allah is telling us this group that's going to conquer you again has already conquered in previous history, which was in Umar ibn Khattab when he conquered Jerusalem. And this group will be Muslim. It's not going to be conquered by non-Muslims. It's not going to be conquered by outside foreign. It will be Muslim winning back their lands, and they will conquer them, and they will destroy everything they built, and your face will become sour. That means this was a surprise attack. You went from superpower nation into no nation at all, and there will not be a third nation. This is the final nation, Bani Israel. There is no third nation after this. Anybody have questions?
So basically, scholars, they were thinking like it already happened the two times. But
So the Quran tells us.
So like the second time wasn't crazy. Like how they didn't have like.
So the first time, the first time it already happened in history.
Yeah.
That's what the Quran tells us. The second time, the Quran came in when the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was sent down. When the Quran was sent down, it tells us that it already happened the first time, but the second time hasn't happened yet. So it tells us that Allah is going to give them a nation again. What happens in 1967? They destroyed 4 Arab countries, Egypt, Syria, the 6 Days War. They destroyed 4 Arab countries. So Allah tells us, we've given you power. You were small in numbers, but you were strong. We've given you wealth. We've given you money. In 1967, they even told Israel, let's have a second state. 1 state for Israel, 1 state for Arab. They said no. They stole. They killed. They started bloodshed. So Allah tells us the second promise will come. And a group that will destroy you will be the Muslim, because Muslims entered Jerusalem in 638. So when the Quran came down, first one already been there, done that. It's already happened by the Assyrian Empire. They destroyed the first temple, which was a huge temple. They went inside their houses. They took their children, their wife, their family. They enslaved them back to Babylon. There was no more Jewish left. When the second temple happened, they weren't rich. They didn't have izzah. They didn't have power. So that's what Allah tells us. They only had izzah one time in the past. And second time will come, which already came in 1967, will come. They'll be powerful. They'll be small in numbers, but they will destroy all the armies. But Allah tells us, because when you started the bloodshed just like you did in the history, we will send you an army just like we did the first time, but this army will be Muslim. The first army wasn't Muslims. The Quran doesn't tell us they were Muslim. They were not Muslim. The second army will be Muslim, because the Quran tells us this army will be Muslim. How do we know? They entered the Masjid al-Aqsa. If they were not Muslim, it wouldn't say Masjid, right? The first one, when they came, did it say Masjid? It didn't say Masjid, because they're not non-Muslim. That's the evidence right there that the second army who will conquer Palestine or Jerusalem will be Muslims that would conquer it. Any question? Good. Assalamu alaikum.